Hollywood bowed before a lady who didn't fit the mold in 1983. Winger, Debra, magnetic, instinctive, and fierce. Before turning 30, she had 3 Oscar nominations, making her the face of a decade. But Debra vanished just as she got to the top. No mishap, no controversy, no justification. The same question was left unanswered by the millions of people who previously loved her. What actually took place? And if the world wasn't prepared to say goodbye, why would a celebrity leave the limelight? Come along as we reveal the little-known tale and never-before-seen pictures that lie behind one of Hollywood's biggest mysteries. See why Debra Winger chose a different route by continuing to watch. Debra Winger was born into a working-class Jewish family in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, on May 16, 1955. Her mother worked in an office and her father packaged meat. The family relocated to the San Fernando Valley in California when Debra was still a young girl. Her career as an actress wasn't easy. She attended California State University Northridge to study sociology and criminology, but she eventually left because she didn't see her future there, not because she wasn't capable. When Debra was 18, she went to Israel as part of a typical youth tour for Jewish young adults where she saw kibbutzim and learned about identity and history. The narrative was occasionally repeated with greater theatrical flair in subsequent interviews. She even implied at times that she had received training from the Israeli military. Later on, she came clean and said it was just another ordinary trip. The manner she presented it reflected who she was, continuously striking a balance between the need to defend herself in the public glare and the unvarnished truth. When Debra returned to the United States, her life changed drastically. She sustained a brain hemorrhage after sliding off the back of a vehicle in a major accident. The repercussions were much worse than anyone had anticipated. She spent 10 months totally blind and partially paralyzed. Physicians promised nothing. She might never be seen again, according to some. Those 10 months were a time of emotional and physical despair. However, Debra started to perceive her goals more clearly at that period. A different life. Not safety, not a steady career. She promised herself something. She would relocate to Los Angeles and pursue acting if she recovered. Interestingly, acting had never been a childhood ambition. It had nothing to do with superstar ambitions or movie passion. It began as a result of pain, the brittleness of existence, and confronting the prospect of losing everything. Debra kept that commitment as her body healed and her vision gradually restored. After relocating to Los Angeles, she started going to auditions and took on menial jobs. Like hundreds of other young performers, her early parts were soon forgotten. She starred in the low-budget movie Slumber Party 57 in 1976, which did not make an impression on movie history. She was given a greater opportunity when she was cast as Wonder Girl, Wonder Woman's younger sister, in a famous television series. Her career was not defined by the 3 episodes she starred in, but it was enough for viewers to remember her face. The producers wanted her to remain a regular. Debra declined. Many were taken aback by the choice, and some even referred to it as stupid. Debra, however, was well aware of her own fear, being stereotyped and confined to a single image before she could fully explore her identity. When she wore the Wonder Girl costume on a popular talk show years later, she made light of her younger self in a funny and sincere way. Debra made an appearance in a comedy with a disco theme in 1978, trying to capitalize on a craze at its height. Debra did not fail, but the movie did. Casting directors started to take notice of her for an unidentified reason rather than her obvious attractiveness. The intensity of her emotions, her restlessness, and the feeling that she never did anything to win over other people. She wasn't cautious, and she stood out for precisely that reason. Urban Cowboy, released in 1980, marked the true turning point. Gilley's, a well-known honky-tonk club in Pasadena where oil workers from Texas could dress as cowboys and ride a mechanical bull, was the film's focal point. The project already had John Travolta involved. SpaceX was first offered the female lead, but she declined. Michelle Faye Pfeiffer, who was also a rookie at the time, went to the audition with Debra. Debra was chosen for the position. She portrayed a fiercely independent young lady who falls in love with Travolta's character, Bud, gets married quickly, and then rejects being under his authority. In one of the movie's most iconic scenes, Debra had to ride a mechanical bull for the role. Determined to do it without a stunt double, she trained for weeks. Debra wasn't only riding the bull when the scene popped onto the screen. She had something to prove. There was a mixture of triumph and grief in her expression, a sense of fulfillment. She was reminding Bud that she would not let herself be diminished by demonstrating to him what he was losing. She became famous as a result of the incident. With over $53 million at the domestic box office, Urban Cowboy was a huge smash. Debra was nominated for 2 Golden Globes, one for New Star of the Year and one for Best Supporting Actress. She received a BAFTA Award nomination as well. Her performance was hailed by critics, who who pointed out that she gave a part that could have easily been one-dimensional depth and complexity. James Bridges, the director, later acknowledged that they got into a heated altercation while filming. He had to close the set for a whole day because Debra wouldn't do a certain sequence. He was angry at the time. But after watching the video, he saw that she'd been correct. The dialogue didn't work for some reason. Her intuition was accurate. Debra's career was characterized by a pattern that was established by the dispute. She was adamant about doing the work well and would not make any concessions. For some, it was a sign of professionalism. Some thought she was challenging. Well, she added later, "It's just your job." I therefore find it very difficult to grasp all of this stuff about celebrity and reputation, a gentleman and an officer. Debra starred in 2 movies in 1982. She was teamed with Nick Nolte in the first, Canary Row, which was based on the John Steinbeck book. Issues with production started almost immediately. After only 8 days of filming, Raquel Welch was sacked, and the movie went on to be a box office failure. However, Debra more than made up for it in her next movie. On the surface, the relationship between a cop and a gentleman seemed familiar. A Navy aviation cadet with a troubled past is Zach Mayo, as well as Paula Preakey, a regular factory worker who yearns to be seen and appreciated. But the way the movie tied everything together was what made it unique. In the concluding scene, Zach enters the workplace wearing a white dress uniform, lifts Paula into his arms as the music swells, and leaves an enduring romantic impression on the audience. For many years, it has been cited, reenacted, and honored as one of the iconic pictures of 1980s film. But beneath that radiance, the set felt oppressively tense. During the filming, Debra Winger and director Taylor Hackford had numerous arguments. Debra believed that Hackford was unduly controlling, fixated on small minutiae, and gave players little opportunity to develop or add their own viewpoints. She felt disregarded and compelled to use a storytelling technique that she didn't quite support. Debra publicly referred to Hackford as one of the worst filmmakers she had ever worked with when she was thinking back on the movie years later. Debra appeared to Hackford to be unyielding, combative, and nearly unwilling to make concessions. Conflict characterized the workplace as 2 strong personalities clashed. Debra and Richard Gere, her co-star, did not get along any better. They had an almost explosive chemistry on television. Audiences believed they were watching a real love tale because of their appearance, body language, and emotional cadence. Off-screen, the situation was reversed. The tension between Debra and Gere was so evident that the entire crew could feel it, according to Louis Gossett Jr., who played Sergeant Emil Foley and went on to win an Academy Award for the performance. Filming personal sequences became a real hardship because they didn't like each other and could hardly stand to be in the same room. At one point, Debra compared Gere to a brick wall, cold, closed, and impenetrable. Debra was viewed by Gere as erratic, complex, and challenging to collaborate with. The film wrapped, and they almost savored touch. Debra declined to participate in advertising events. When the truth behind the scenes had been everything but ideal, she didn't want to appear flawless in front of the public. In Hollywood, where friendliness and appearance are sometimes prioritized over personal truth, it was an uncommon decision. An Officer and a Gentleman was a huge success in spite of everything. The movie gained Debra a nomination for an Academy Award for Best Actress, received multiple major accolades, and made about $130 million at the U.S. box office. She was regarded as one of her generation's most gifted and captivating actors at the young age of 27. She soon shocked everyone by taking on a completely unorthodox undertaking. She contributed uncredited voice acting to the creation of E.T.'s unique voice in E.T. the Extraterrestrial. An odd but intriguing side note to her career, her husky tone, breath, and vocal texture were included into the sound design and became inseparable from the renowned persona. Terms of Endearment, released in 1983, was the real high point. Debra portrayed Emma Greenway in the movie, a woman who is battling to live her own life while being watched over by her domineering mother. Through youthful optimism, an unapproved marriage, parenthood treachery, and finally a terminal cancer diagnosis, the character travels through life. Debra gave it her best, even though it was an emotionally taxing part. However, the production was characterized by dispute once more. Shirley Mann and Debra did not get along. Shirley Mann was already a Hollywood star by 1983. Her 4 Academy Award nominations had all ended in failure. She had waited patiently, paid her dues, and now assumed a position that seemed to be a wonderful fit for her skills. With the assurance of someone who had endured decades in the business, Mann went into the movie. In contrast, Debra was just 28 years old, up for her 2nd Oscar nomination, and bursting with suggestions about how Emma should be portrayed. Debra brought a fresh generation of vitality to the project. Astute, creative, and not scared to challenge authority. She saw Emma as a live person who needed to be protected at all costs, not merely a part to be played. Debra refused to give up creative control just because her co-star was more well-known or older. From their initial encounter, that position influenced the 2 women's relationship. That day's image almost took on a metaphorical meaning. Wearing pricey fur coats, Mann exuded the ambiance of vintage Hollywood when celebrities were treated like kings and queens. Debra quietly declared that she did not follow the previous norms when she arrived in combat boots and a short skirt. In addition to their age differences, They also had different perspectives on the work, the trade, and even how to function in the industry. The simmering animosity came to the surface as soon as filming started. The media instantly portrayed the terms of the endearment set as a dramatic confrontation after both women received nominations for Best Actress. On-screen mother and daughter. The reaction was explosive when Lan won and took the stage with the direct assertion, "I deserve this." It was an off-screen collision between old Hollywood and new Hollywood. The moment was generally perceived as a declaration of authority, and it forced the two actors' relationship into a murky area that would never completely disappear, even though she later claimed the comment was not meant for Debra. Putting the dispute aside, terms of endearment gained popularity. Lan finally received the Oscar she had been chasing for so long when the movie took home 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. Debra didn't go without anything. The National Society of Film Critics recognized her. However, the Oscar escaped her grasp once more. Awards were never the end goal for her. Debra freely admitted that she wasn't interested in pursuing projects just to bolster her portfolio for accolades. But personal values are not the basis of Hollywood's operations. At the age of 28, Debra started to earn the uneasy moniker of difficult actress after receiving 2 Oscar nominations but failing to win. The reputation stuck to her, fair or not. She was still working by the late 1980s, although her fame had started to wane. She co-starred with Robert Redford in Legal Eagles in 1986, a film that did not receive positive reviews. Debra's forthright public remarks regarding directors Taylor Hackford and Ivan Reitman only served to further solidify her reputation as an unpopular figure in the industry. In 1987, Black Widow and Made in Heaven added to the run of commercial disappointments. Debra also turned down a number of prominent jobs that would go on to become legendary. She declined roles that